So I wanted to show you this astro code that I just finished. Now, I'll admit I'm not very good at getting on and speaking about them because I usually feel like a goblin most times of the day, because I don't get dressed up. I wear my tracksuit and here we are. But I do enjoy my reflection time looking at the code afterwards, because when I create these, I mean, I'm not going to say I'm in a trance. I feel like that's a little bit dramatic. But I am in a trance-like state, in the sense that when I'm sketching these, I don't really know what I'm doing until I kind of look at it afterwards. Obviously, there is cognition happening. I know their chart. I know what energies I'm creating. I know what planets and, you know, all of those things. But in terms of how it weaves together, I'm not really thinking too much about that. The pen's just like, woohoo! So yeah, this was the finished one, or the finished code. And it was very interesting because this person has a lot of Sagittarius. They have their sun and their moon in Sagittarius, and Jupiter as well. I think there was more Sagittarius energy. I'm trying to think. But there was also a lot of Capricorn. There was a lot of Capricorn, Taurus rising. Yeah, all the personal planets were either in Sagittarius or Capricorn. And then with the and midheaven Capricorn as well. So yeah, it was a lot of energies, and I thought it was very interesting, you know, just wow, how would that be to live a life where you have that much Sagittarius and Capricorn, like the blend of that? Because obviously, well, I say obviously, Sagittarius is mutable fire. That means that it's flexible, it's able to get lots of different, you know, Sagittarius is to do with information, and they're very good teachers, you know, they're adaptable. Mutable energy is very flexible. It can go between point A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and kind of bring it all together, you know, in a cohesive way. That's what Sagittarius is really good at. You get a lot of truth, people that have a lot of kind of ability to say and just speak the truth and bring you to different things, you know, that of philosophy and all these kinds of things. They're just masters at bringing things together in that way. Similar to Gemini. Gemini is mutable air. So anyway, you know, but Sagittarius is obviously fire. So I just thought that was so interesting with the Capricorn as well, because I mean, I've not met this person. I just, you know, I've created their code and just some brief talking back and forth. So if he's watching this, I'm just commenting on what I was sensing from your chart. Yeah, with the Capricorn as well, it's just, to me, it was really, as I was drawing it, just thinking that's such a cool combo of things. And then the Taurus kind of like grounding it all in. So we have obviously the philosopher's eye, or I think the Eye of Ra. I always, you know, either or. I stylize it as the Egyptian eye, but the way that I include this, I always include that with Sagittarius. Not always, but often if it feels right too. Because with strong Sagittarius energy, they're walking through life with such a deep knowing, like this quest of like, there's more though, there's like more. And it's just that, you know, it's that inner eye. It's that eye that is like seeing. It's not just feeling. It's kind of seeing something. You know, I try and put myself in that I just have Venus in Sagittarius. That's my only Sagittarius placement, and I do feel that through that placement in terms of the Venusian side of things. And anyway, yeah, so we have the upward triangles as well. That's the alchemical symbol for fire. And in this case, this triangle here is kind of a blend of the air and fire symbology, because air is the upward triangle, but it has the line through it. And the reason that's there is because this person also they have their north node in Libra, an air sign. And your north node is the part of your chart where you're evolving towards. It's maybe used a bit more in Vedic astrology, like is it called Ketu and Rahu? I think those are the names. I might have got that wrong, but it's still used in Western astrology, and I like to use that. I think I know in my chart it's always been very helpful. I have my North Node in Aquarius, and yeah, the North Node is just that. It's like that inner voice that is calling you forward. My dad always says, my dad's an astrologer, and he always spoke about the North Node. That's perhaps what, made me think about it more. But it's like you don't ever, it's not that you ever necessarily reach that energy. So whatever planet you have your North Node in, I kind of see it like this magnet, that is pulling us. But we maybe don't quite get there, but the older we get, it sort of flavors, it gives us a direction, let's say. And the South Node, which is the opposite end, is kind of what we've come into this life with, what we're really good at. So in my case, I came in with my South Node in Leo, the opposite of Aquarius. So I've come in knowing how to, be on stage, metaphorically and literally. And I am noticing as I'm moving through life, a lot of my earlier years was on stage singing and performing and, doing my music in that way. And I'm finding the older I'm getting, I'm enjoying much more just being in the studio. I love performing. I absolutely love performing. But life seems to be, that magnet is pulling me more, to just be in my, Aquarian and more Aquarian side, a bit like, I don't want to be out in society. So yeah, this person has their North Node in Libra. And I always use the Egyptian Ankh when it comes to Libran energy. Not always, but sometimes, again, if it calls for it, I will use that. And I'm not sure where I read it. It may have been in one of the Palladium books many, many years ago, but I'd never heard this description of the Ankh in the way they said it. And they explained the Ankh, that it's not just a symbol, that it was a literal physical tool that was used for frequency modulation. Now, if we think about Egyptian times, we know that music was very much a part of their healing. When you see a lot of the hieroglyphs, and they had a lot of interesting instruments, maybe not just for playing, but also for healing and those kinds of things. So I very much associate that frequency modulation with Libra. And actually, interestingly, Nikola Tesla, he had a lot of Libran energy. That's kind of an aside, but if you think about some of his inventions, I think it was the oscillation machine. The energy of those forces that are happening in that, I can't explain what is happening, but if you look at pictures, it forms the shape of an Ankh, which is just really interesting. It's really cool. And yeah, just thinking the fact that he is, he's got a lot of Libra, or had a lot of Libra, or has. Is he still around? Did he make a time machine and is still actually here? We'll never know. I think he is still here. Wow, that would be a twist, wouldn't it? So yeah, the Ankh is there representing that person's North Node in Libra. And I'm trying to think what else is here. So this is the pentacle. This symbol here is the pentacle. And you will see that used in the tarot, and that symbolizes Earth. That's the traditional symbolism for Earth, is the pentacle. The five senses. You have the 5 points, and that's the 5 senses. Taurus especially is very connected to the 5 senses. What we can touch, sensual, the body. So in a way, Taurus combines all the elements. If in some sense, they are kind of the master of the elements. So obviously we've got the Taurus there for their Taurus rising, and that's the symbol for Earth. That's a downward triangle with a line through it. That represents Earth. Because remember that Earth signs are actually a feminine energy. Air and fire are masculine. They're forward moving, they're active, they're active forces. That's why they have the triangle within their symbolism. The fire, a standalone upward triangle with the line through it. But Earth, Earth and water are feminine signs. So that's why they are the downward triangle. You know, they're the passive forces. They take in life. They're soil, you know, things grow out of the soil. They kind of serve a basin for other things. Whereas fire and air, they are the kind of things that charge, that they are the things that give charge for things to come out of those, you know, water, earth elements. So yeah, I mean, there's so much when I start talking about it. My mind just starts firing on so many ways, because when I'm drawing the codes, I'm thinking about all these things kind of amidst everything, and it's just this big splurge in my brain that comes out on the paper. And here, this is the symbol at the center, if you see, the silver symbol for Saturn. And Saturn is the ruler of Capricorn. Remember, this person has a lot of Capricorn. So obviously the Saturn needed to make have a nice big central position there. And Saturn is the planet of, he wants things done correctly. You know, we hate on the Saturn return, myself included. Mine was savage, literally on the day that my Saturn return was exact. So when Saturn came back to its exact position, I was writing out I was basically like, I was having some issues with a record label. And that day I was gathering information and writing a letter to basically start a lawsuit, you know, and that is what Saturn represents. Saturn represents the law. And I didn't realize this until after. And not only that, I was staying at my dad's house, you know, Father Saturn. Saturn represents the dad, and you just can't make it up. I'd really recommend, like, looking back to find out the exact time when your Saturn return was, the exact date, and just have a think about what, or reflect back what you were doing that day. It's absolutely wild, mate. Oh, this universe. So yeah, this was their code. They have the 11 life path number, and the 11 is a master number. So when a number goes down to 22, 11 or 33, you don't add those up, you keep them as the master number. And this is in numerology, by the way. This is what you get when you add your birth details together. Many of you probably know about life path numbers. If not, just go on a Google or a calculator, type in numerology life path number, and you can see what your number is. It's very interesting. So I'm an 11, and an 11 life is interesting because you have the two ones. You know, one is an initiator, it's a starter energy, it's like, let's go, visionary. But then because it adds up to 2, it is combined with that kind of people pleasing, you know, oh, what's other people gonna think, and codependency, and, you know, that's not all about the 2. The 2 is also just good at being with people and, you know, all those kinds of things. But yeah, the 11 life is an interesting one. It's seen as a very spiritual number to live. Like 9 and 11 are probably the most kind of, I'm not in a hierarchical way, but just more so, it's very sensitive. They're very sensitive numbers. And that can be for better or for worse. So yes, a lot. But I just wanted to talk about this because there's probably much I've missed as well. There's so many layers to these astro codes that, yeah, sometimes it takes me weeks to be like, oh yeah, that means that. So yeah, if you would like an astro code, you know where I am.